Create an environment where you can think, where you can relax, where you can enjoy, where you can, again, feel at home. It's yours. And you understand why it's yours. Again, not just because emotion, but because you understand it. But then the second level is surround yourself with beautiful art. Do it partially because it's beautiful. So it's aesthetically pleasing. But importantly, art gives you a whole other depth, a whole other sense of emotional fuel that you don't get from any other aesthetic experience. It inspires, it motivates, it drives, it gives you the energy to live. It inspires you to live the best life that you can live. Right? Surround yourself with art that takes your breath away and excites you and gets you going. That gives you a sense that life is beautiful, that life is worth living, and that life is worth aspiring to more, to great things. That gives you the courage to be ambitious about life. That concretizes for you kind of those values. Concretizes your deepest values and that you love. And again, Michael, thank you. Well, Mike and Michael. Mike asks, what's the most beautiful car you've ever seen, driven, owned? I'm a car guy. The most beautiful car I've ever seen, I think, is still the Aston Martin. I love those cars. I just love the lines. I was told once by a guy who owned a Ferrari and an Aston Martin that was my feminine side. I don't know why, but that Ferraris are masculine and Aston Martin are feminine. But I don't quite get that. But I just think maybe it's the soft lines, the rounded lines. It truly is a gorgeous car. There's actually a car, like an exotic car display room right in my building on the ground floor. So I walk by these cars every day. And they have a gorgeous McLaren. Just a gorgeous McLaren. Now, McLaren is the kind of car I could never drive. I couldn't get into it. It's too low down, like Ferraris and Lamborghinis. I can't get into them because I've got a bad back. And just getting into the seat and getting out of the seat kills me. So I need a car with a little bit more height. I think the Aston Martin has a little bit more height to it. But that's, I think, the most beautiful car I've seen. What is the most beautiful car I've ever driven? What's the most beautiful car I've ever driven? I don't know. I mean, I've been in. I've had somebody else drive me in a Ferrari. That was a lot of fun. I've had somebody drive a professional race car driver drive me in a Celine supercar, which $1 million Celine supercar. That was a blast. I mean, your brain basically, goes to the back of your skull because when it accelerates, it goes so fast. But I've driven the nicest car I've ever owned, the funnest car, and I think the prettiest car I've ever owned was an Audi. It was the Audi S5. Yes, the Audi S5. A few years ago, before I moved to Puerto Rico, I owned an Audi S5. It had red leather seats. It was just a gorgeous car. So it's just a beautiful car. And I like it when your car is beautiful as well. Again, just like everything else. And by the way, I saw pictures now of the Audi e-tron, the new electric car. It's a four-door sedan. Oh, just beautiful. I mean, it's an electric car, so I'm hesitant, but it's a beautiful, beautiful car. And for Puerto Rico, I'm not sure it's ideal. But yeah, I mean, that's part of surround your life with beauty is have a car that when you look at it, you kind of smile. I like this. And when you drive it, you kind of smile. Hey, this is fun. Right? Now I have a nice car, but not a car that is fun. Right? Not a car that I enjoy. It's more of a utility for me. But I like the aesthetic value of a really, really cool, fast car, which gives you a lot of control. My Audi S5 was incredibly enjoyable. Right? Michael, thank you for that. I will get to the question, but let me finish you're on rules before I get to it. So that'll be my first question I answer once I get past this. So we were talking about art. So art is a reflection of your deepest values. It should evoke a real emotional response in you. Don't buy art because somebody else told you it's good. Don't buy art because it's classic, because Ayn Rand said it's good, because it's in a museum. Buy art that moves you. Now, again, like everything else that I've said, understand why it moves you. And some art might move you, and it turns out that it kind of shouldn't, in the sense that maybe you have to think about some of your values. But don't buy anything that's not going to truly inspire you. Don't expect the art to grow on you. If it's not there, don't buy it. Wait. When it grows on you, then buy it. And don't wait until you can afford some $3,000, $30,000, $300,000 original. You can buy posters. These are posters. I mean that's a Vermeer. That's the Geographer, which I think the original is in Switzerland. And it's beautiful. You can't really appreciate it here. And the truth is with Vermeer, you can't truly appreciate Vermeers in posters. It's just like it more serves to remind me of a real Vermeer than being a real Vermeer. Right? It reminds me that there is such a thing. Actually, according to the poster, it's at the Louvre. It's not at the Swiss Museum. I think the Astronomer is at the other museum. This is a Geographer, and it's at the Louvre. And I've seen it at the Louvre, so I know what it really looks like, and it's so much more. And it's so much more inspiring. And it's so much more emotional to see the real thing. I'd love to have the original in my home, but I can't. So I have a poster, which doesn't have the full effect, but it's enough. And when you're young, or when you're old, you're not going to be able to afford originals of the art that you love. That's okay. You can still buy posters, postcards, little prints, whatever, and put them in your home. Put postcards, prints, large prints, small prints in your home. And if it doesn't quite have the effect of the original, and it won't, it'll remind you of the effect the original had on you. Right? Thomas said, framing art is 10 times more expensive than buying even a good print. It is, although again, that's if you want to go all out, and that's if you want the full aesthetic experience. But most of us, when we start out, certainly when I started out, I couldn't afford proper framing. So like these are just stuck on the wall. Partially because that wall is concrete and this is a rented place, so I didn't want to frame them and then drill holes in the wall and everything. But you don't have to frame them at $1,000 each. Or at $500 each. You can do this, or you can buy a plastic frame somewhere. Just put it up on your wall. And then as you have money and you want to make your place more beautiful, you want to surround yourself with even more beautiful stuff, then you can invest in the framing. You can keep investing in better furniture, nicer furniture, better art, nicer art. and put it all up and frame it properly and make it really, really nice. And that is, so again, don't try for perfection and therefore not have anything. In every situation, create the most beautiful environment you can given the means that you have. And meaningful environments. Art gives it meaning. I mean, this sculpture, which is an original, I mean, it's an original cast in bronze that was done in the 19th century. I mean, it's expensive, but isn't that expensive. Not as expensive as you'd think for a bronze casting from the 19th century. That's David. I love the character of young David standing up to Goliath. I love the courage, the determination. It's inspiring. It's man at his best. So, yeah, I mean, that was a gift my wife gave me, basically. And it's amazing. So if I can surround myself with Davids, I can't have Michelangelo's David. And I find that when you shrink Michelangelo's David, it never looks right. So I would rather remember what it looks like in the original. You have to go to Florence for that, or you can get at least an approximation of that in Las Vegas at the Caesar's Palace has a copy of Michelangelo's David. And yeah, I mean, if I could have the number of really, really good sculptures of David, the number of sculptures that I would love to have copies of, but some of them don't exist. I think I showed one, maybe I have never showed it. I'll show you a print sometime of a sculpture of Spartacus, which is at the Louvre, which is just magnificent, one of my favorite sculptures. So surround yourself with art, visual arts that you can see, that you can experience. You can walk into the room, and there it is. Right? Jennifer asked, do you like Botticelli's Birth of Venus? We have a huge one in the bedroom. I saw the Birth of Venus recently. When was it? Well, it's like 2020 is a black hole, right? It doesn't exist. So I'm thinking last summer, but no, last summer was 2 summers ago. It was in 2019 when my wife and I were in Florence. We saw at the, now I forget the name of the museum. Anyway, the main art gallery in Florence, you have Botticelli's Birth of Venus and many other Botticellis. So certain things I love about Botticelli's Birth of Venus. It's the colors, it's alive, it's vibrant. There's a lot of vitality to it. So it's a beautiful painting. And again, no poster is going to do its justice. But hey, it's better than having nothing. So if you love that, if it really does it for you, then get the poster, put it up above your bed. Absolutely. It really has that celebratory aspect to it. It's Jennifer writes, it's a celebration of birth and beauty. Absolutely. The Uffizi Gallery. Thank you. Thank you, Joseph. I mean, I've only been to the Uffizi, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 times in my life, but I'm 60 today, so I am forgetting certain names. Although I feel amazingly young, except for the fact that names I forget a lot. And that's been, you know this from my show, that's been happening a lot over the years. So yeah, the Uffizi Gallery, one of the great museums in the world. I mean, yeah, and you could spend a good day at the Uffizi Gallery. There's so much to see, and the history's so interesting, and the artwork is just magnificent. I mean, all the seminal kind of painters of the Renaissance are represented in the gallery, and it's you can see it goes through historically, so from the very early Renaissance, pre-Renaissance, to the height of the Renaissance, you can see the evolution. And of course, Botticelli is key to that evolution and key to that, to the success. So yeah, surround yourself with plastic arts, art that means something to you, art that is that is going to inspire you, that is going to, that you're going to want to look at every day?
And to begin with, I wonder if I can ask you to capsulize. I know this is difficult. Can I ask you to capsulize your philosophy? What is Randism?
First of all, I do not call it Randism, and I don't like that name. I call it objectivism.
All right.
Meaning a philosophy based on objective reality. Now let me explain it as briefly as I can. First, my philosophy is based on the concept that reality exists as an objective absolute, that man's mind, reason, is his means of perceiving it, and that man needs a rational morality. I am primarily the creator of a new code of morality which has so far been believed impossible, namely a morality not based on faith.
On faith?
Not on faith, not on arbitrary whim, not on emotion, not on arbitrary edict, mystical or social, but on reason, a morality which can be proved by means of logic, which can be demonstrated to be true and necessary.
All right, all right.
Now, may I define what my morality is?
All right.
Because this is merely an introduction. My morality is based on man's life as a standard of value. And since man's mind is his basic means of survival, I hold that if man wants to live on earth and to live as a human being, he has to hold reason as an absolute, by which I mean that he has to hold reason as his only guide to action, and that he must live by the independent judgment of his own mind, that his highest moral purpose is the achievement of his own happiness, and that he must not force other people, nor accept their right to force him, that each man must live as an end in himself and follow his own rational self-interest.
May I?
All right, before we go on, reminder, please like the show. We've got 163 live listeners right now, 30 likes. That should be at least 100. I figure at least 100 of you actually like the show. Maybe there are like 60 of the Matthews out there who hate it. But at least the people who are liking it, you know, I want to see a thumbs up. There you go. Start liking it. I want to see that go to 100. All it takes is a click of a thing, whether you're looking at this. And you know, the likes matter. It's not an issue of my ego. It's an issue of the algorithm. The more you like something, the more the algorithm likes it. So, you know, and if you don't like the show, give it a thumbs down. Let's see your actual views being reflected in the likes. But if you like it, don't just sit there. Help get the show promoted. Of course, you should also share. And you can support the show at JeronBrooksShow.com/support, or on Patreon or Subscribestar or Locals, and show your support for the work, for the value hopefully you're receiving from this. And of course, don't forget, if you're not a subscriber, even if you just come here to troll, or even if you're here like Matthew to defend Marx, then you should subscribe, because that way you'll know when to show up. You'll know what shows are on, when they're on. You'll get notified, right? So, yes, like, share, subscribe, support. Like, share, subscribe, support. There you go. Easy. Do one or all of those, please.